friend of mine, well, actually, that I lied. Manila Chan used to be on this show, but she's not on the show no more. I interviewed Manila Chan a long time ago, but also Jamal Thomas, who is also a host of Fault Lines. I'm going to play a segment because they were talking about the South African elections, which is something that we definitely need to talk about. I haven't spoke about the ANC at all. What's up, Dust? I see Dust from YouTube, Dust James. People, please go and follow Dust James on Twitter. He's a comrade from North Carolina. What's up, Dust? Great guy. And he be breaking down. He be breaking it down. He breaks it down. This is all for the working class. Yeah. I got the NWO shirt on, you know. This is for all the OG wrestling fans. The youngins don't know about this. The youngins don't know about the NWO. That's the era. I have a special guest. I'm going to see if he's able to come on real soon. Let's check him out. I think it will be great to have him on a discussion about the Mexico elections. If people didn't know, Mexico just had their first woman president elect. She just won, and she is Jewish descent as well too. So that makes her also the first Jewish president that Mexico has ever had. So that's two historic feats right there. And let me see if my guy, he's having trouble with the camera. Let's see. Bet he's resetting his laptop. All right. So yeah, so my guess, when they're able to come on, they are actually indigenous from the land of Oaxaca, which is a part of Mexico. So I would love to hear my guess's perspective on this election. I think it's very, very important that we center indigenous voices, especially in this time and age, especially in this stage of imperialism where neoliberalism is showing its ugly truth and everybody is seeing it. It's not so hard to see the hypocrisy with neoliberalism. A friend of mine that they oh, here we go. We have my guest here. Hey, how's it going, comrade?
How's it going? It's nice to be here with you, comrade.
We're also live on TikTok right now. You guys are on TikTok that's watching this. You're just going to only be able to hear my guest's voice because I can't put the live stream on TikTok yet. So somebody tell TikTok to have StreamYard connect so we can also have you guys see the full effect of the show. But if you want to see the full effect of the show, go on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook. And that's you can see all the graphics and everything. Comrade, I'm very, very excited to have you on here, man. If you could just introduce yourself to my audience and tell them a little bit of what you do, because you know you do a lot.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Javi Villatoro. I am a two-spirited Zapotec person from the Central Valles Centrales in Oaxaca, that's southern so-called Mexico. I am a poet. I've been living in Quinnipiac land, also known as New Haven, for over 10 years now. Undocumented and unafraid. Here in New Haven, I am a member of Semilla Collective of New Haven, which is a grassroots collective that fights for the rights of immigrant and working families. Through advocacy, we fight as members of the Husky for Immigrants Coalition, which seeks to expand healthcare access to undocumented people. We are also organizing a cooperative of workers, to which I am honored to be a worker owner, Tortilleria Sevilla, which also advocates for food sovereignty uh,
Mm,
and seed saving.
mm.
We bring seeds of corn from Mexico, and then we make tortillas here in New Haven with the nixtamalization, the proceso of nixtamalización, which is the traditional way of making tortillas that our people have been using for over thousands of years,
Yeah.
which is, in it's been threatened by the mega corporations that seek to make the process more streamlined, selling you the powder. And most tortillas nowadays are made with that powder, no longer with the seeds. And that powder is made with GMO seeds, which is very bad not only for the people but also for the land. So doing making tortillas is also land back.
Oh wait, I just realized I had my thing on mute. Thank you so much, comrade, for coming on. Yeah, I mean, so I want to ask you about the tortillas as well too, because I love how you mentioned that as well. And they use that as a way to could like hurt Mexico, because a lot of
That's right.
tortillas come from here in the States. Is it the grain that we
Yes. So as crazy as it sounds, we send a lot of our good corn to the States, and we buy the GMO corn from the States to
okay.
produce this powder in Mexico.
Mm,
And we can talk, because on this episode we will be discussing about the change in government in
right.
so-called Mexico. And something to highlight of that, if we want to get a little on that, is that the current administration did make it so that the GMO corn would be banned. No, they tried to do that, and
Mm-hmm.
then the states, the liberals in the states and the conservadores in the states, they tried to fight it in court uh, under the North American trade agreement. No, they tried to fight it under that Mexico was violating the agreement for trying to have GMO corn ban, which is
Right.
crazy. No,
So AMLO was basically trying to naturalize the corn, and basically the U.S. bullied them into not doing that.
I
It,
wouldn't say it was
uh,
AMLO, because it's
uh-huh.
obviously a movement. It's
Right. Right.
obviously a lot of people doing it in the local level, fighting and doing advocacy for GMO to go away.
Right.
And what they were trying to do, I don't know if they would nationalize it precisely, because their policy is of nationalism, but they might have been just trying to ban the GMO corn. So maybe other
Uh-huh.
kinds of corn would have been allowed, but GMO corn was supposed to be banned from Mexico. But I don't know on what state that is right now, because obviously the mega corporations are fighting that in courts here in the States and in Mexico too.
And this is a good segue because thank you so much for the likes, and definitely share if you appreciate this conversation, and hit me up with some roses so I continue to have great guests like Javi on. So what Shine Bomb? Can't even think of her first name for a second. But Claudia Scheinbaum, she's a scientist, a environmental scientist,
Hmm.
which is a very very interesting role as well too. She was also mayor as well too before she became president. She's been in Ablo's cabinet. I would say that they are progressive neoliberal type of politics. So this is another reason why I was like so happy you was able to come on, because you could give your perspective as being indigenous to Mexico, and it's important to say that, like, what should we be seeing out of this administration, especially with the relationship of her being an environmental scientist. Has she spoken for indigenous people, because that's a big part of the environment.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's beautiful that you name it as it is, that their administration is neoliberal and capitalist,
Hmm.
because obviously they present themselves as the alternative, and they actually are very vocal about neoliberalism. Not the current president calls it the neoliberal period, where all these people sold off our country to the mega corporations of outside of the other countries. And in that sense, I will recognize that there is change in regime. There was a regime change in my country 6 years ago when Andres Manuel came into power. Uh, and I would also like to start this by acknowledging that this is an electoral process of historical proportions, not just because over 60% of the population came out to vote. In the millions came out to vote.
Is that the biggest
Also,
that has ever been?
I would say yes, because the biggest one I think was when Andres Manuel won, and she had more votes than he did. And
Ah,
also, it's an election of historical proportions, because obviously in a misogynistic country as my own, it is the first the first women president, right? So let's acknowledge that too, right? That this is something of historical proportions. And I will also like, before I go into my opinions of
yeah,
Claudia, I would also like to acknowledge that I would like to be very careful on how we speak, or not just her, but every Jewish person,
right.
because at this very moment in time, it is true that our siblings and Palestinians are suffering immensely. And it's also true that anti-Semitism has skyrocketed, even
Right.
among organizing spaces, right?
Yes.
It's as if our Jewish siblings have to prove themselves twice that they are with the right position.
I
And
like
in
that you
that
said that.
sense, uh,
Yeah. I like that you said that. That's very important.
hell yeah, hell yeah. And in that sense, this person who is the next president of Mexico, is, as you mentioned, in practice neoliberal. And it's not, I don't think I could say that she's evil or that she has bad politics, because electoral politics is nasty in general. Like, you're not going to get
Yeah.
to be the president of a country without shaking some bloody hands.
Yeah.
So
That's the
from the three, hell yeah, yeah, from the
yeah.
three options, um, obviously she was the lesser evil, like they called this
Yeah.
place.
Like we say here. Yeah.
Yeah, like we say here. And I would also like to recognize how yeah, what Morena did as a movement rather than than a party, because now it is a party, but before it was just a movement of
Yeah.
masses. And being also Andres Manuel the political animal that he is, like filling entire plazas, huge plazas by the millions, people marching. And now that the right wing opposition lost, they're saying, "Oh, let's count the votes." Andres Manuel is replying, "Let's count them," and he's saying, "Well, go march. If you saying that we robbed the election, go march." No.
Right. Right.
So in
Right.
that sense, they won fair and square. This is a government that reflects the will of the people of Mexico. I want to make that very clear.
Right.
It is a change in regime for the best, I would say. Like, material conditions have changed, have improved for the working class people in my country. My
Mm.
grandma is receiving like financial aid now. The students are receiving financial aid. There, when I say that they're neoliberal in practice, is because they still, and I'll go into more detail now, is because they're making deals with the capitalists as usual. and they are not really changing anything in that sense. But they, I would like to acknowledge that they do have programs that are socialist in practice, right? Like the financial aid for the students, for the people building their houses, for the single mothers, for the elderly people, the receiving monetary aid through the government. No, the schools might be getting some improvement. There is improvement. Now, I first, before we go into more details,
Yeah.
I would like to acknowledge that, so
I,
that
I appreciate how fair you're being, but you don't have to be so fair.
I think it's important because I know there'll be people who will bring this up,
Right.
will bring this up, because
Right.
so my opinion is not an opinion in the empty, right? I'm not just some leftist who will this put out hate towards any authority figure without some analysis. And now, if I could go into more of why it is a neoliberal regime, I would like to start, like you mentioned, that she is an environmentalist, and in that sense, she is betraying her credentials by being part of this administration, which has passed these mega projects that have been historically opposed by the native communities, and not
Mm,
all native communities per se, right? Like there is some native communities who are publicly supporting these mega projects, and not to say that because you're native you're right, and if I'm saying that this is of the detrimental for the communities, is because I have seen how tourism is detrimental, and I'm referring about the Tren Maya, which is this train that, according to the current administration, will bring a lot of tourism into my country. Now, I assume that your audience is educated and understands that the role of tourism is to serve a tourist class, which is not our people. Now, some people
kind
will
of like
get
what Cuba has to deal with in order to keep up because of the embargo, basically, right?
basically, yeah, and some money will get into the native people's hands. Some money will get into their pockets. But in reality, the economical, when they say that the train will bring economical progress, we say for who? Who is really going to benefit from this train? Who will get the money? And it's the same people who've been making the money before, which is the ruling class, which is white class, at least in my country, just like in this one and many others, is white people who
Mm-hmm.
are from foreign to the land, who are settlers, who are people who gain their power through killing of my people and black people too. So
Yep.
and to the detriment of the community, because when the tourists come, they also bring their trash, they also bring their racism, they also bring, higher rents for the native, higher prices, because now we're selling everything in dollars, so I'm not able to afford it. um so another project that and this is also like has been is very very public. I'm speaking, probably preaching to the choir, because this is it's very public. It's been in many news outlets how detrimental to nature this project has been. Not to say
Right.
the economic aspects for the natives is also detrimental. And then there is the Interoceanic Corridor, which is the alternative to the Panama Canal, which is they trying to build in my land in Oaxaca. And I would like to shout out the people of Puente Madera who have been in the struggle now for years, but also prior, because this comes from Benito Juarez, who was actually a native person, but he didn't want to be native. He wanted to be French. He wanted to be European. He wanted to be, um, you know, he wanted for native people to become Mexican, right? To become um, part of this society, but it was at the cost of taking our language, our traditions, our ways of being,
Right.
killing us.
Right.
So,
Right.
and this person wanted to do the Interoceanic Corridor back then when he was after the Porfiriato, in the 70s during the revolution, all those times,
Right. Right.
the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, all those times. That thing they wanted to try to do that back then, and they failed because the natives fought against that
Right.
back
Right.
then. Back then it was liberal. Back then it was liberal. It is liberal now too. You know, it is capitalist now too. It's in the it's looking to serve the Americans now too. So not
Mm.
just because these people are doing some socialist programs, they become socialists per se. You know,
Yeah. So
from where I come
basically,
from, we
it's
call
kind
them
of like
populists.
Spain,
People who do that.
like how Spain has a socialist. Well, they say they have a socialist type of government, but they also give into the pressures of capitalism
That's right.
and also contribute to U.S. imperialist
That's right.
endeavors and interests.
That's right. And then I would also like to add one more point, if you allow me, is that the indigenous perspective, because you asked me.
Yeah.
So in the 19th and in the 2000s, when the Zapatistas had their uprising, they fought the military for 12 days until they had a table of negotiations. That table of negotiation achieved what we know as the San Andrés Accords, los Acuerdos de San Andrés, which was basically plurinationalism, the recognition of indigenous people's sovereignty as sovereign nations within a nation.
Mm.
That's what we achieved, what the Zapatistas achieved through their struggle. The government never respected those agreements, never put them into law.
Mm.
Now, according to some native scholars, and I'm going to quote Nua Mauta on this because this is the one I saw defending it, this administration, Sheinbaum and Andres Manuel, are on the side of Native people passing now these agreements with their own name, of course, but
Mm.
enshrining them into the Constitution for Black and Indigenous people in Mexico to have their own recognitions as nations within the nation. That is what they're preaching, right?
Right.
Okay, some Native people are behind this law, this change to the Constitution. I applaud it. It's very needed. I would not give the credit to the politicians. I will give the credit to the Zapatistas who did it back then, and the Native resistance over the years. Ever since the start of colonizations, we've been fighting for that to happen. It's not
Mm.
like they came and did it now. And
Right.
again, they say that they're for the native people. So if they're for the native people, how come they keep repressing the Otomi rebel community who is asking for the rights for their land back? Every time that the Otomi community comes out in Ciudad de Mexico, they deploy the militarized police on them, and this is also documented. How there's a couple articles on it. However, now that because it was under her administration when she was the jefa de gobierno in Ciudad de Mexico, her administration deployed the militarized police on the Otomi community multiple times. But now you look those news, and somehow you can't fight them. So as I'm saying, all of this is not to take away from the socialist programs and not to say that Claudia Sheinbaum is evil. And I will repeat for the people because I see a lot of hatred because she's Jewish. Yes, she is Jewish, Mexican, which I have my own issues with the Mexican identity, with Mexican nationalism, but she's Jewish Mexicans, just as there should be, or as there is Jewish Palestinians, right?
Yeah.
We say
Yeah.
free Palestine. We also mean that for Jewish people.
Yeah. Free Palestine.
Same thing here. She's Jewish, Mexican, and all of our Jewish people are beautiful. You know, like in Mexico, the Jewish community is also on the streets fighting for a free Palestine. So, for
Yeah.
all those people who are throwing hate at this person for being Jewish, please don't do that. There is plenty for you to
Yeah.
criticize, for you to study, for you to read on the things that this administration, the coming one and the current one, have to improve. We have to be careful. We have to keep an eye on, but her being Jewish, I don't think is one of them. Her
Yeah.
position on Palestine is the same as the current administration, a neutral one, which I understand is not the best. Right? You're siding with the oppressor if you have a neutral position. You're siding with the oppressor anyway. But she is not openly pro-Israel. The government still working with Israel, still getting their technology from Israel. You know,
Yeah.
still
And
getting
that's what
the,
a lot of people criticize the the AMLO cabinet for is
that's
their
right.
relationship with Israel.
That's right. Yes, they are. They're using this spying software called Pegasus to spy on the rebellious movements in Mexico. They are, working with Israel. but many, like all the most of governments are. So in that sense, all I'm not asking for you to not criticize that. You have to criticize that. You have to recognize that Mexico is working with Israel. You could even say Mexico is pro-Israel, and you also would also would have to say that Mexico is bringing to the International Court of Justice,
Mm.
that case forward,
Right,
joining
right.
the South African case. You
Yep.
know,
Egypt is a
you
part of
also
it too.
have to say that Sheinbaum did come and call for a ceasefire in 2009, and she did it again this time around. All I'm saying is when we do criticism, we don't do it from uh, we try to do some research beforehand, right? That
Yes,
we have a
at
more
all
informed opinion.
times.
You
At
know,
all
that's right.
times.
Yeah,
God, it's so true, Javi, that we have to continue to do research at all, even when it's annoying. We gotta
right.
keep doing it, because if we don't do it and we're not concise in our argument, how can we teach the masses? How can we get the masses to understand the working class perspective if we lack the information that the ruling class lack?
That's right.
Um, and they do it on purpose because they know they can get away with it. So we got to be even more diligent and more educated to counter their bullcrap.
That's right. Yeah. No. Definitely. Definitely. Another thing that I wanted to add before I go is that
Yep.
this government is very good at this administration, and I'm assuming it's going to be similar with Claudia, is very good at fighting the propaganda of the right wingers, which had a lot of control in my country for the last
Mm-hmm.
70 years, which was, a dark time. Not to say that now is much better, but there's some improvements, no? And there every day they have these mañaneras, which is the president speaks to the people. I appreciate that. Sometimes I even listen to that.
They
Um,
didn't do that before. That's a whole new
no,
thing where
no,
the president addresses the
he
public.
used to do he used to do when he was jefe de gobierno, which is
Uh huh.
like the governor of Ciudad de Mexico.
Uh huh.
Um, and now I was saying because today he came out to say, my government doesn't do repression the way that the other governments did.
Mm.
So how come yesterday, just yesterday, the teachers were striking? The teachers in Oaxaca and in the F, the National Syndicate of Teachers, and they just dropped the militarized police on them. It was all over like the leftist news. I seen it.
Oh
But
wow.
today he came out in his platform to say
Yeah.
we don't repress the people. So is it one or the other? So for all those people here who might be listening to this and might think that this is, which I don't think, the people listening to your show, I assume are informed, but this is not alternative. This is regime change, but it's
Yeah.
not the alternative that we've been waiting for, that we are fighting for when we're talking about,
Mm.
nuestros sueños no caben en sus urnas. Our
Mm.
dreams will never fit in their ballots.
Mm. That's really deep. I really appreciate you, I really appreciate you, my comrade, for coming on and giving us this perspective, because I think it's very, very important to have a balance. Um, and it's very, very important to have a very balanced perspective on these politics, because if it's very easy to just be like, oh look, they got this going on, they got this going on, so they're moving forward, and then you disappear, and then you come back, and then when things get real, you're confused. You're like, how? Wait a minute, I thought they were moving forward, but you gotta stay in tune. You gotta keep watching. You gotta keep noticing. So this is a wake up call for people that that are excited about a Claudia Scheinbaum term, to remind yourself that yes, it's great that you have a first woman president in Mexico,
That's right.
but you want her to be the standard to progress, and not like a Hillary Clinton or a Nikki Haley, which she's far from that type of reality.
That's
But
right.
still, though, there are kinks that needs to be addressed, and they got to be pushed as well too. Even if even if they're not like a Hillary or a Nikki Haley, they gotta still get pushed. We can't be having fanship over politicians and stuff. Like that's kind of weird, being all fans with politicians.
That's right. I saw somebody in the chat saying that the teachers in Oaxaca are the leaders of the people directly connected with the proletariat and indigenous populations. That's right. Most of those teachers are indigenous themselves, are native themselves. And what these people are fighting for is the improvement of everybody's lives, not just their own lives. When the teachers are fighting, they're fighting for the improvement of the lives of everybody, because those children, many times go to eat to school hungry. They don't have
Right.
food in their stomachs. Their shoes are opening. They're not able to afford the books. Even the schools are in pretty bad conditions. So when the teachers are striking in Mexico and anywhere, no, the teachers are improving everybody's lives, and seeing the reaction of this administration and obviously past administrations too.
Yeah.
It just makes me angry. It makes me angry to see how, and also like the population is noticing, right? The population, the people is noticing how political participation is the only way forward for us to get free. And I don't mean electoral politics by this.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. You talk about getting on the streets, grassroots. That's where real change happens. All right, people. And TikTok, why are you bringing up learn more information about U.S. elections? We're not even talking about the U.S. elections. Like that. Oh my God, this app, bro. Let me get some likes for Palestine and for Mexico. If you support Palestine, Mexico, let's get some likes on here. Come on now. Y'all slacking with the likes today. So Javi, I don't want to take any more of your time. Could you please tell everybody where they can, if you want to get contacted, where they can contact you to learn information on the work that you do, and plug in the Samilia project as well too, which is great. People should, and especially in Connecticut, if you're looking for something to get involved with, Samilia is great. They do a lot of great work for our people here.
Thank you, comrade. I appreciate it. So my ad is Nimbus Viajero. And then you can also follow the Semilla Collective on Instagram and Facebook as Semilla Collective of New Haven. Make sure to do that New Haven, because there is other dope Semilla Collectives out of New York, out of other places. All power to the people. And we are New Semilla Collective of New Haven. Thank you so much for the space, comrade, for the questions. Thank you. I'm here for the struggle anytime.
Yeah, thank you so much, and I would definitely love to have you back on the show next time. So thank you so much, comrade.
Have a good one.
Yeah, have a good day, comrade. So yeah, that was Javi, everybody. We were just talking about, for people just joining in, we just had a whole discussion about Mexico's politics and what the indigenous people are expecting out of the next term of the new president, Claudia Sheinbaum, who is the first woman president of Mexico and also the first Jewish president of Mexico as well too. So that's very, very historic. And I was very, very happy that I had the opportunity to get someone that is from Mexico and is also indigenous that can give us a breakdown on how they can keep on fighting and saying this fight is not over just because there's a progressive cabinet in Mexico. The fight have to continue. This is something that Americans have to learn very much. And I'm saying it because I'm American. Now we're talking about U.S. elections, TikTok, if you want to flag me again. Now we're talking about U.S. elections. But I don't want to do it on U.S. elections as much right now because this show episode is not about U.S. elections. We're going to go over to South Africa now. Now we're going to talk about South Africa's historic elections. The ANC, and I think it's best that I give my perspective about the ANC first before I play a video of an interview that gives you a more in-depth analysis on what's going on. So for people that don't know, when the Mexico elections ended, the South African elections also ended around that same time. and a lot of cabinet changes. We're looking at a coalition government for the first time in like 30 years in South Africa. The ANC, the EFF, I think the DA party, and there's another party that I can't think of right now. So I'm thinking of 4 parties, but I'm pretty sure the video is going to help me out with that as well too. So Ramaphosa, this is where my criticism starts with Ramaphosa. First of all, even before Ramaphosa, the ANC itself is the vanguard party. I know that we don't know what a vanguard party really is in America because we have a 2-party system that chokes any type of grassroots, any type of struggle, chokes it until we're able to choke them back and apply pressure and get them to actually legislatively give us a bare minimum. And I say bare minimum seriously because that's exactly what they've been getting away with. Every time we try to choke them, just for instance, here in New Haven, Emma Jones fought for almost 30 years for her son, Justice in East Haven. He was killed by the police, and she started a movement for the Civilian Review Board, and it took over 20 years for the Civilian Review Board to actually get passed. A Civilian Review Board is used to hold police accountable for the bullying and the brutality that they have done to their citizens. That's what a Civilian Review Board is placed for, and it has teeth when there's subpoena power. But the issue with New Haven is that since it's inside the government, New Haven now, New Haven has control. The mayor has control of how it's going to look, and it's losing its subpoena power. It's losing exactly what the 20-year struggle was about. And I joined that struggle with them 7 years within the 20-year span of them fighting for the CRB, because I moved to New Haven and learned about it and got involved. And now we're seeing exactly the issue. This is what happens, especially when a capitalist government, they'll push for something good, but then when it gets into play, how they keep talking about how Biden is pushing all these progressive policies, but you're not seeing any changes. You're not seeing any real actual changes, especially, for instance, with the student debt. Bush forgave a lot of student debt as well, too. But you see, we still talked about student debt, right? So he did the same type of policy, forgiving a similar amount. And then he gets to say, oh, I did exactly what my promise was. But he didn't really do exactly what his promise was, because there's still majority of U.S. citizens that are still struggling with that debt. The same thing Bush did. And maybe it'll look lower while he's the president, but it's going to rise extremely right back up. The solution to the student loan debt is to forgive the student loan debt and make school free. There you go. That's the solution. It's the easiest in the world. Other countries do it. Other countries have been doing it for decades. America likes to make it a problem. It's very easy to make school free. There you go. Executive order. All you got to do is just sign the executive order. School is free now. That's it. That's how you fix the problem. That's how you fix the problem. Let the judges, everybody you want to sue, the courts, the Republicans, oh, we're suing because we don't agree to it. Let them do that. They're going to do that. They're going to do that. So don't be afraid of them doing what you expect them to already do. But no, he doesn't have a backbone. Doesn't have a backbone. This is South Africa, ANC party in a nutshell. They helped greatly defeat the apartheid, but still progress became slow, especially after Nelson Mandela died. What they did to Winnie Mandela, I still don't forgive them for it at all. They framed her, and she was one of the biggest revolutionary fighters while her husband was locked up. This woman was in the trenches, in the freaking trenches. This woman fought for her people. She was out there, bro. Like, there's a documentary on her on Netflix for people that don't know, if you want to get catched up with how great of a woman Winnie Mandela was. The women revolutionaries are real gangsters. They real gangsters. They don't play around here. So long live Winnie Mandela, first of all. And I always held a grudge with the ANC because of that. I don't live in South Africa. So my opinion doesn't matter, really. I'm giving my perspective on how I feel about the ANC. But what validates my perspective about how the ANC lost the ball is the South African people in this election. They feel exactly the same way about the ANC. And I think the ANC didn't realize it until after this election, where they have to allow other parties to help govern South Africa because no one trusts you anymore. And I don't think Ramaphosa is going to last. Ramaphosa is a billionaire. He is a billionaire. He doesn't really want, I don't know what billionaire really wants their country to thrive. They're too busy worrying about how much money I'm gonna make, how many people I gotta exploit so I could get higher up. So yeah, Julius Malema definitely, Julius Malema, if I'm saying his wrong incorrectly, if you're from South Africa, please correct me on my brother's name. But Julius ain't going to be for Ramaphosa staying in office. No, the EFF has already chose someone else that they wanted. So this is what this interview is about. They're going to be talking about the four parties that are going to be a part of the South African coalition. We're going to play a little bit of it, and then I'm going to have some commentary as well, too. But yeah, the ANC has to do better. The ANC, just like the Democrats here, lost the trust of the people. It took the people to see Israel in this new generation for them to be reminded that the Democrats are not going to save you. They had to be reminded that Democrats are not going to save you. South Africans have always knew that the ANC wasn't doing right. They just didn't have the political power because the white establishment in South Africa still has their power, which is insane. That should be, remember when they was having the conversation about land back? They still talking about land back to this day, people. They still talking about land back to this day. It was Israel that literally was trying to train these South African white landowners to fight back so they could keep the land that they stole. My grandfather stole this land. It's my land. So I want to keep this land for me. That's what they doing in South Africa. And the ANC has been soft on that. So, I'm not going to say anything else. I'm going to let this brother who is actually from South Africa give his perspective. So for people on TikTok that cannot see what everybody is seeing on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, shouts out to YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. What I'm showing right now is an interview that was on this morning from Fault Lines. And the people that is interviewing Tabizo is the activist that is living in South Africa. He's going to talk about the South African elections. The people that are interviewing him, you're going to hear the voice of Jamarl Thomas first. And then there's another brother by the name of Malik as well, too. So let's get on with this. Where is my interview? Everybody sees it. Okay, here it is.
The ANC gets 40-something%. And in our last conversation, you explained that many of the other groups, with the exception of the PA group, are basically splinters of the ANC. And the splintering apparently has come to account.
So real quick, splinters meaning that the people that started these parties were originally ANC members. For instance, Julius Malema, who I mentioned earlier, he was an ANC member too, and he actually got kicked out because of his comments about was it Ramaphosa? Was his comments? I got to look back into it. It was something about foreign relations that he made a comment about that got him kicked out of the ANC. So he started a group called the EFF, which is the Economic Freedom Fighter for South Africa. That's what their acronym is. I have been watching this man's political career since I was like 20 years old. I've been monitoring Julius' political career. He's a Marxist-Leninist like me. I'm a Marxist-Leninist as well, too. But I don't agree with everything that the EFF proposals are. but I agree with a lot of it. I just don't agree with all of it, which is fine. There's a lot of us leftists who have disagreements, and it's okay. We can have disagreements. Just like how the right wing has mad disagreements, but you see the right wing is out here like trying to control their fascism that they already got going on. So the left, the issue with us, we critique each other way too much and then we become enemies. So we got to stop that. We got to stop that. All right. It's time that we stop that. So anyway, and then there's other two parties as well too that were a part of the ANC, and they also left and they became their own parties as well too. So that's basically what he's talking about.
Basically, now they have to deal with the fact that they've splintered. What are they going to do? Are they going to be able to form a unity government? And who are they going to be able to form that unity government with?
You know, today, the Secretary General of the ANC was not briefing the media, but he was caught on the sidelines of where they're trying to talk on coalition.
Mm-hmm.
And he said they are not finished. He said, no, we are not finished. We give us until 6 p.m. this evening. We are still talking to other formations. So I think it's quite a difficult task that the ANC is faced with right now, of having to relent to some of the demands.
Wait, real quick. Wait. You got to explain something to me. What are the other formations? I thought it was just the EFF, the Democratic, the DA, and I thought it was, there was one more group. I thought they were only like four main
the
groups.
PA. Well,
the PA, thank you.
In KwaZulu-Natal, I'll tell you, in KwaZulu-Natal, it's in KwaZulu-Natal, in KwaZulu-Natal province, okay, where the ANC has also lost, where they might have to give up premiership. They're negotiating. It's the ANC, it's the NFP, it is the IFP, as well as the EFF.
Okay.
And then when it comes to really forming government, because that's what they need to do right now, the ANC says it has sent a request via message, but they've been blue ticked by MK so far. And they're actually waiting for the MK to hear whether they're interested in forming government or not. They are with the Patriotic Alliance, the PA, which has said, yes, we will be in coalition with you and form a unity government, but only if you give us a certain government department as well, which will be run by us, which is the Home Department.
I mean, come on. ANC knew they were going to have to give up something.
Yep.
They knew they were.
They know
either you make that 60%. You're the vanguard of the revolution. You either do it, or you're going to have to form a unity government. And in doing so, of course, those groups are going to ask for something.
Yep.
A pound of flesh.
Yep.
Yes, a host of demands. And if the MK heeds the ANC's call right now to form government, then they want President Cyril Ramaphosa to step down.
Oh, they want the head of the king.
Yes. So they'll be coming with a host of demands that at the end of the day will be able to ensure that there's government. But these parties are coming with demands. Whereas on the other hand, you have the Democratic Alliance, who is said to want to get rid of certain individuals in the ANC before they can form government and make the head of the Democratic Alliance a deputy president, of which it has been disputed. The ANC says it will not live up to such demands. Whereas on the other hand, there's a political party which broke away from the Democratic Alliance. It's called BUSA. BUSA's leader was today heard on another radio station as saying, in coalition talks, of which he has heeded a call from the ANC has hypothetically put it to him that they wish to make him deputy president of the country.
Really?
By so doing, it would be a good move because he's young, he's clever, he's a clever black. He was schooled in politics well by Opposition Democratic Alliance, but he knows exactly the ANC because he's from an ANC family. So the ANC is positioning itself in a way in which it would like to appear looking very good in the public, in the eyes of the public, because of the dismal performance in the elections. Now they have to clean themselves. This is part of renewal that the ANC has been going through for the past 5 years or so. But like I said to you, the MK is not coming to the party. We haven't heard anything from the MK saying that they'll come to the party. Now, if the deputy president becomes Musi Maimane from Busa, then it would mean that the current deputy president has to step down. And there's rumors that maybe President Cyril Ramaphosa may be asked to step down as well. But
he's saying rumors. I already heard what Julius said. Ramaphosa not gonna make it. This is the last final curtain call for his term. The last final curtain call. They don't F with Ramaphosa, man. I don't want to cuss as much. So I'm trying to find other ways. But they don't F with Ramaphosa, bro. They don't. And look, let me get this right. And if you want to watch the rest of the interview, go on Fault Lines. It's the latest episode. This is a very, very good interview. I only wanted to show a little bit of it so I can talk about what's going on in South Africa. Ramaphosa is, I want to praise Ramaphosa for his role in BRICS. I want to say something nice about the brother, because he still is a brother. But just like Julius said, we ain't see you when we was fighting apartheid. You wasn't in the field, brother. You wasn't out there with Winnie Mandela when she was out there trying to tell the white man that they need to chill with this apartheid shit. You wasn't around, brother. You wasn't in the trenches. You wasn't in the streets. You came around later on. They wasn't effing with you from the beginning. You got all this money. You a billionaire. I'm happy you did BRICS, but he got to learn his place. And if he does make it, the ANC going to have to give up a lot, like you just heard. This is the consequences, and it could be worse. It could be worse. They should be happy that they haven't got overthrown by a more radical group like the EFF. They should be happy that this was a democratic process. South Africa is, if not the most powerful African nation, they are really, really powerful. They are part of the BRICS nation. They are a big deal. You know what I mean? They are a wealthy nation as well too. This era of a poor African countries is over. There's powerful African countries rising right now, and they are not playing with their sovereignty at all. That's why you see French soldiers getting kicked out. France used to be so strong that if a brown nation told them something, they was able to smack them and be like, nope, this is how it's going to go. France can't do that no more. America can't do that no more. So we're seeing the rise of African nations that are going to be very, very, very pivotal in the rest of the world's history as we see it. Why? Because all the resources that we use just for even this phone that I'm using right now comes from Africa. So once they get control of their resources, which is what they are doing right now, you see that in Burkina Faso, you see that in Mali, you see that in Niger. Once they get control of their resources fully, the continent of Africa will be the most wealthiest continent there ever was again. And I say again, seriously, because people forget how powerful the continent of Africa was back in the day. I don't even want to bring up the Mansa Musa and everything. Read the history. So I think it's very, very important that people pay attention to what's going on in South Africa, because South Africa is a world leading power. And that's why we're talking about them. Because what this coalition government does will reflect for generations and generations to come. It's going to be a crazy reaction now, but it's going to reflect from generation to generation, generation to come. Because South Africa is just going to get more powerful and more powerful 24/7 because they have the friendships with Russia, the friendships with China. They have the friendships that is pivotal for them to rise, and you see them rising now. So it's important that, you know, the ANC kicks out what the ANC needs to do, because they already lost. They already lost the trust of their public. You failed. You were supposed to be the vanguard party that takes people out of apartheid. I really appreciate what they're doing fighting Israel, which is another apartheid state, in the ICJ, bringing them to justice in the ICJ. I appreciate that. And these people are not going to change that policy. They're not going to change BRICS. They're pro-BRICS. The EFF is pro-BRICS. So we're not going to see on a national level a change. What is more of is an internal, how they're going to function as a coalition government, which is so important of what I'm ready to see. And the ANC is going to have to give up a lot of things, just as Bezos just said, in order for this process to work. I'm very, very excited that the EFF is finally going to get some more power in South Africa. I've been watching and monitoring the EFF for quite some time now. And I've been waiting for the opportunity for them to like actually get some power. And this is great. This is great. Well, we'll see what Julius does, because right now they're in a really good spot to make some actual change. Majority of the country is Africans, South Africans. But the ruling class and the wealthy class is still white South Africans. There still is a lower class of mostly Black, indigenous Africans in South Africa. They are still the lower class, even though the apartheid is gone. So there's an economic change that needs to happen, and the EFF policy is more pro that than the ANC ever was. The ANC was very lax on that, and that angered the poor working class. That angered them. So this is why you're seeing this kind of response in the election. I'm pretty sure Ramaphosa knew this was going to happen. I would be shocked if he was shocked about the election results. I know for a fact that he is a very, very smart man, and he knew this was going to happen. So I'm very, very interested to see what's going to be going on more forward. So we're going to be covering South Africa a lot more now, just because of this change. And we're going to be covering. I mean, I'm always covering Latin America a lot, so I can't even say we're going to be covering Latin America a lot more. I'm always covering Latin America because Latin America is our friendly neighbors. So yeah, last 2 minutes of the live stream. I want to thank everybody for coming out, especially here on the YouTube and the Twitter and the Facebook crowd. You guys are a lot bigger from the last live stream, so that's absolutely dope. I really appreciate you coming on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube crowd, and listening to this informative segment. I'm gonna have a lot more content like this coming out. And to the TikTok crowd, I want to thank you guys always for coming out and listening to this, because I think it's very, very important that we talk about what's going on internationally. I'm gonna be covering things domestic as well too, but the reason why I focus on what's happening internationally, because it reflects us here in the United States, whether you know it or not. The wars affect us. The sanctions that they put on the whole third of the world affects us as well too. So that's why I always say it's important to not only talk about domestic politics here in the United States of America, but to also have a knowledge of what's going on outside the United States of America. So you're not so surprised when you're trying to buy an electric car, for instance, from China, and you're like, why do I have to pay so much like tariffs just to get an electric car for China? Oh, that's right. Biden put 100% tariffs on the EV, so I have to pay double the amount just so I can have an affordable electric car. So I'm punished. I'm punished by trying to go green because I decided to go green with a Chinese product that's more better than an American product. That's why it's important to know. People hit me up, believe it or not, when they're playing with the stock market and the international stock market. People hit me up and ask me, "Yo, what's going on in Bolivia?" Because I'm trying to do some stock in like lithium or something like that. Oh, yo, what's going on with this? What's going on? Like people actually hit me up when they're trying to buy stock internationally, just so they can get an understanding of what's going on. And they're like, man, I don't know if you should invest into that because this is going on. They just got a new president. He already said that he's about to nationalize this because he's not effing with America no more. Like, it's kind of hilarious when people hit me up because I'm not a financial dude. I'm the worst person you should ever come to give financial advice. But when it comes to stock, people like to hit me up because they know I know about the wars and the foreign policies. Or they're like, yo, should I invest in this just in case? But what's going on? Like, for instance, when Tesla stock dropped, this is a funny story. It's actually sad, too, by the way. Fuck Elon Musk. Real talk. So Bolivia had a dictatorship. You know, they kicked out Evo Morales. Long live Evo Morales. He was an indigenous president of Bolivia. He got overthrown by his own people that was working with the CIA, working with America. And come to find out, they started death squads, lithium, and sorry, TikTok is always doing weird things. They're trying to make sure I'm a human, apparently. So they real quick because I need to close out. So the lithium is a big deal in Bolivia. So instead of the U.S., hitting Evo up, hey, we realize that you nationalized your lithium. Let's make a deal. This is not what we do. This is what I'm gonna tell you how Anglo-Saxons. This is how Anglo-Saxons. This is why they're always called Anglo-Saxons, even though they don't like being called Anglo-Saxons. They, instead of calling Bolivia up, hey Evo, let's make a deal. Let's buy some lithium from you and all this stuff like that. No, overthrow your ass and start killing the indigenous population. Guess who made mad money off of the lithium? Elon Musk. Elon Musk made mad money off the lithium. And he was asked about that too in Bolivia. And he said, we cool whoever we want. He said we gonna kill whoever we want. He tweeted it. There's a tweet of him saying it when people asked him, hey, why are you supporting the coup in Bolivia? We cool whoever we want. Listen, I'm a billionaire. I'm making dough. I don't care about them indigenous people. I'm going to get that lithium and I'm going to put it in these cars and y'all going to buy them and y'all going to shut the fuck up. That's exactly how Elon felt in that moment. That's how he felt. So that's why people hit me up, because I told them that when they got a new progressive president in office, that all that issue is going to stop. That lady that was a dictator in Bolivia, she in jail now. Boo-boo locked up. That's what happens when you become a puppet of the United States, especially in Latin America. Y'all all end up in jail. That's Peru. God damn, they get a dictator like every 5-something years and they all end up going to jail. Y'all criminals, just like Bibi Netanyahu. Don't kick me off of TikTok, please. So I've been told not to call them criminals like that because that gets me in trouble. But thank you all for joining the live stream. And I'm going to be back probably Saturday. No live stream tomorrow. I got a lot of things to do. But probably Saturday. And see y'all later. Have a good day.